Hello, welcome to our new night story. Now let's relax slowly and move on to our story. On a cool, grey morning in April, the narrow, winding streets of the old city were glistening with the wetness of the night rain. Raindrops trickling down the surfaces of the historic stone buildings were silently mixing with the water that had collected in the corners. The city was slowly waking up, and the familiar morning rush of the streets was beginning. A street cat was balancing on a garbage can, while the voice of the bagel seller on the corner echoed intermittently. Fresh bagel, hot bagel. Halo, as always, was standing in front of the oldest and most beloved tea house on the street, brewing his first cup of tea. He had started working here during his university years. In a short time, the rhythm of the tea house had become the rhythm of his life. 10 years spent in the shadow of the city had made Hale a silent witness to these narrow streets. The sky was grey and heavy. There was a heaviness inside Hale that he could not understand this morning. Later in the morning, a man walking by the train station entered the tea house. He was in his 40s, had a slightly unkempt beard, and a tired expression on his face. He silently made a tea sign to Hale. While Hale was preparing the tea, the man took a crumpled newspaper out of his pocket and spread it on the table. Hale, whose eyes caught the newspaper, could not hide his surprise when he saw the headline. A huge portrait was hung on the historical bridge next to the train station. The woman in the portrait seemed to be addressing everyone in the city with her deep and meaningful gaze. There was a single sentence underneath: "Life changes when you find what you are looking for." The news spread quickly. Everyone on the streets was talking about this portrait and this mysterious woman. Some swore that she was a famous artist who left the city years ago, while others claimed that she was the ghost of a love story they had never heard of before. But Hale felt like he knew the woman in the portrait. Deep in his memory, the idea that he had seen that face somewhere before resonated. One evening, while the tea house was crowded, his old friend Ake walked in. Ake was a journalist he knew from university who approached life with a passion. Hale had always admired her determination and sharp intelligence. Ake approached Hale and said in a low voice, "Hale, we need to find something about this portrait. The city may have forgotten who this woman is, but I haven't. She is Layla." Ake and Hale went to the train station to see the portrait hanging under the bridge up close. The damp walls and cracked stones under the bridge whispered the experiences of the old city. In the corner was an area where street artists displayed their paintings. Hale noticed that one of the artists was an old and quiet man. This man was Hussein, who had worked with Layla until a few years ago. Ake approached Hussein and took a deep breath before asking her question. "The woman in this portrait is Layla, isn't she?" Hussein's eyes shone with sadness. "Yes," he said quietly. Years ago, Layla had left her mark on this city with her love and art, but a fire, a betrayal, reduced everything to ashes. Ake remembered the fire years ago. The newspaper headlines had written about the art gallery that had burnt to ashes and the gallery's missing owner. Layla had disappeared from the city's memory, leaving behind only a secret and regret. Hale and Ake decided to gather more information about Layla's gallery. They turned to old newspaper archives and learned how the gallery, which was one of the most prestigious art venues in the city at the time, was surrounded by intrigue due to her relationship with a wealthy businessman named Sevdet. Sevdet had fallen in love with Layla, but also tried to make a profit from her, while Layla tried to maintain the delicate balance between love and art. Sevdet's shady dealings in the business world turned everything upside down. During these investigations, Halil noticed an old woman coming to the tea house one day. The woman asked with her thin voice, "Are you still looking for Layla?" Halil shook his head in surprise. The woman said, "I am Layla's old neighbor. I heard something the night of the fire. Layla survived that night, but then disappeared. She left us a letter saying her farewell. No one knows, but I still have that letter." And she took an old, crumpled piece of paper out of her pocket. In the letter, Layla wrote, "You think the city has forgotten me? No, I have. But among the ashes of my past, I am trying to find a new path. Maybe one day, I'll return to this city and tell everything." The article Ake published fell like a bomb in the heart of the city. It became clear that Layla had returned, and that her story was not over. Shortly afterwards, Layla opened a new art center, where the old gallery was located. At the opening of the gallery, Halil and Ake locked eyes with Layla. Even after all these years, Layla still had the same passion in her eyes. The people of the city had gathered to celebrate her return to the city. Art had been reborn from the ashes of the past. Halil felt that he had become a part of the city that touched its soul instead of being a spectator in this story. Ake found the triumph of uncovering a story and the meaning of confronting the past. Layla shared this moment when the city and her own story were rewritten after years of silence. With this new beginning, the city began to heal its own wounds and remember the forgotten.